Priyanka, knock knock.
Who's there?
Hawaii.
Okay, that's why my sister's holidaying right now.
No, you're supposed to help me with the joke. Come on, yeah. Priyanka,
Okay,
knock knock.
who's there?
Hawaii.
Hawaii who?
I'm good. How are you?
What? Oh, crap.
Hello, hello. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This show is called Unboxed, and Priyanka will tell you a little bit about why we called this Unboxed the first time.
I think we called it unbox because we wanted to unbox concepts about relationships and communication.
Absolutely. And in today's episode, we want to talk about some more pressing issues, some of what I'm personally interested in, and some of what all of you viewers are interested in. We're going to be talking about how to identify what kind of person you should be getting into a relationship with based on your personality traits. And we're also going to be talking about what makes a relationship toxic and what are some of the red flags that you should always avoid before it gets too late, right? And Valentine's Day is approaching, so there's no better time to be shooting this episode.
Okay, I'm Priyanka. I'm a relationship coach based in Bangalore. I work with both single and married people, help them resolve any sort of relationship issues that they're dealing with. I work with people across the world.
I am single people. My name is Rahul Kolle, everybody. I love decoding communication and storytelling and what makes messages stick. I'm also a presenter and a host. So this is what I love doing, which is meeting new people and having conversations. Priyanka isn't new people, but an old friend, but I still love having conversations with her about relationships because, well, I can speak my mind to her without fear of judgment, right? And that's what we're going to do today. So Priyanka, the first thing, let's get straight into it, okay? Valentine's Day is approaching. And for a lot of people, it's not an occasion of celebration. For a lot of people, it's an occasion of pressure where you feel like you need to get into something, whether it's a casual relationship, whether it's, being with someone on the day for company, or just getting into a serious relationship and taking that leap of faith, right? But how do you know? How do you know for sure if that person that you're taking the leap of faith for is the right person? I'm sure you've got this question before.
Yes. Yeah, and I think it's one of the most important questions anyone should be asking before they get into a relationship. Do I know if this person is the right person for me? There is no right or wrong person, but the way I look at it is, can I build the relationship of my dreams or my aspirations with this person? And that's usually how I like to sort of evaluate the situation. I get this question a lot on Quora where people say, what qualities should I look for in my prospective partner, right? I always have the sort of, why are you asking random strangers as to what qualities you should look for in your prospective partner, right? Because there is no one answer suits all, right? The answer differs from person to person because we are all so different, we are all so unique. So the relationships we build with people is so unique. So when each of us is so different, how do we then figure out who's the right one for us? There is no right way to do it, but I have a method that I've been using with people that seems to work. So I could share my method with you today, and
I
hopefully
would
it'll
love
work.
that.
Yeah, and maybe we could like sort of, you could be my guinea pig today to kind of try it out, right?
No, won't be the first time.
Fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough. The way I like to think about it is first to really spend some time understanding yourself, to really break down what is core to your personality, because our personalities are constantly in flux depending on
Hmm.
who we're with. Our relationships influence how we behave. We're a certain type of person with our friends, we're a certain type of person with our parents, we're a certain type of person in a professional setting, right? So we're constantly wearing so many masks throughout the day, all the time, that we kind of aren't really in touch with who we are at the core, right? So the first exercise is really about attempting to identify what remains constant over a largish period of time, what's core to us, right? So if I were to ask you, hey, think of all the adjectives that someone has used for you, you've used for yourself, and really make a massive laundry list of it. And then once you've done that, to pick out things that only you identify with, then there is some amount of convincing you have to do to convince somebody you are that. right?
Right.
So what remains just with you usually tends to be what is core to you, right? What the beliefs that you've held for a longish period of time. So I usually like to take that as an anchor to then build on top of to visualize what kind of a relationship you want.
You mentioned, right, the personality traits that are core to yourself. Our beliefs of those personality traits are largely influenced by the people around us. Is that an accurate way of identifying who you are, going by the feedback you get? Or is there a way that you can just sort of self immerse in isolation and identify those things? What would you recommend?
So the way I like to do it is to not begin by differentiating, but just putting everything into the bucket. All sorts of adjectives.
Okay,
Adjectives that people have given you, adjectives that you associate with yourself when you're in company, everything.
right,
Let's say, I'm just making numbers, imagining numbers here. Let's say you've got 20 adjectives, all of them are in the bucket.
right.
Now, I would start sort of organizing them in the form of concentric
Mm-hmm,
circles,
mm-hmm.
with the centermost circle having adjectives that only you identify with.
Okay,
And then the next circle could be the family circle. Hey, what is the most common adjective that you hear in family? Okay, this guy is very
one Gugu.
obedient, or very obedient, or very friendly, or
Yeah, Gugu is
whatever.
other word for obedient, for those listening.
Yeah, yeah. So, so, and then when you start associating each of the adjectives to each of the relationships that you're in, whether it's professional, personal, whatever, there will be some that will sit in both places.
Mm-hmm.
Something you identify with, but something your family also identifies with.
Right,
Some adjectives don't have clear boundaries,
right.
right? Then when you do this exercise over a period of time, to a large extent, at least 90% of the adjectives you'll be able to place accurately in one individual circle.
Got it.
Maybe it's like 10% that is unclear, that's blur,
Right.
right? That's in flux. So, like, depending on who you're with, that nature comes up, or
Mm.
like, right? So, this sort of exercise, what this does is helps you understand who you are, right? You could
Right.
take any other approach to figure out who you are and what you are at the core, but essentially want to identify, a handful of
Mm-hmm.
personal values
Right.
or sort of environments that would be nurturing for who you are.
Very interesting. My next question is going to take this to the next progressional level, which is you've identified these traits for yourself. Okay. You're confident that this is who you are. And then you go out and put yourself out there and see this person who is none of the things that you are, who's not encouraging any of the things that you are. That person's still exciting. That person is still attractive. How do you fight your better judgment and stop yourself from immersing yourself in that situation with this person who is going by your own judgment, not right for you?
So I'll probably think of an analogy here to answer, like, because as you're explaining this, I was thinking of an analogy. So it's like standing on top of a cliff,
Mm-hmm.
looking at the clear blue, beautiful water right below. So tempting, so exciting. The weather is beautiful. You know, you want to jump in.
Yeah,
There's a part of you that's saying, shit, you don't know how to swim. Why the hell would you jump in?
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
There are two ways to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
You can jump in and then figure out how to swim.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you will eventually learn to swim and survive or not, nobody knows. Or you could say, oh, it looks great. It's very exciting. It's very tempting. But then once I jump, I may not live after that. But if this is the last experience that I'll have in my life and this sort of exciting, so be it, right? I guess
That's
the point I'm trying to make is attraction and building a relationship are two different things.
true. For those listening, that's what you call a classic hyperbole, but it helps you understand the concepts and it helped me understand it for sure. Again, you've identified who you are. You go out there and suddenly you see this amazing person whom you want to get to know better, but you're just not being yourself. You're putting on a facade, an act, because you want to get with this person, clearly knowing that that's not who you are. how do you find that kind of how do you fight that kind of a social struggle? Because that happens to a lot of us. Where we go to where we go to a party, we see this amazing person, and you want to get to know this person better, and and you think that this person might like certain traits and characteristics, so you fake it, and then you
Mhm.
keep faking it for a while until you can't fake it anymore. So how do you stay away from such a situation?
There are two cases when this can happen. One
Mm-hmm.
could be you're someone who is susceptible to doing this in most situations,
Mm.
whether this is with an attractive girl or with a cool potential employer or people you
Mm.
don't know. You could be someone who's susceptible to putting on an act or
Mm-hmm.
in a sense protecting your real self
Right.
while getting to know someone in the beginning, right? So that's something you have to ask yourself to begin with. Are
Right.
you doing this just with this one person, or is this you essentially,
Right.
right? You may not be showing your full self to somebody, but this could still be you. The fact that
Mm.
you're not showing your full self to someone in the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, assuming that's not the case, and you're putting up this act just with this one person, and you don't know why you can't be yourself, I look at it like, if someone has to like you and want to be with you, they have to like you for who you are. And
Yeah.
if you're putting up an act and trying to be someone else, you're essentially wasting your time.
Correct. This brings me to my next point, which is desperation, right? Feb 14th, Valentine's Day, the whole uh, charade around being with someone on that day, on that one specific day. It must be adding so much pressure on the single folk out there today. And, when you're vulnerable, when you're under pressure, when you're desperate, that's the best time and the best opportunity to make a stupid decision. So,
Yeah.
what are some of the stupid decisions that people should watch out for this Valentine's Day? And how do they stop themselves from wasting time?
I don't know if any decision's really stupid. I don't know if I would call decisions stupid. Like if someone wants to do something on Valentine's Day because they're feeling the pressure of it,
Mhm.
so be it, right?
But doesn't
Um,
that fracture your future plans? Isn't that you just wasting 6 months or a year of your life if it's not the right person?
I mean, I would a stupid decision or the way from my perspective, a stupid decision would be is if you're married and for whatever reason you've had a fight with your wife a week or
Mm.
two before and it's Valentine's Day and you suddenly realize that you don't love your wife anymore and then you decide to have an affair. That's a stupid decision on Valentine's Day. That apart,
Right.
if you're single and you decide to download Tinder and swipe 500 times that day, you know, it's painful for your finger, but it's
It's also
not that.
painful for your self-esteem, I would say. I'm not going to name this friend of mine, but I'm going to read a
Yeah,
text that I got. This was
yeah.
exactly yesterday. Guys, what are your opinions on dating apps? I've never tried one. Okay. And
Okay.
this is especially because it's February. It's obvious,
Mhm.
right? So,
Yeah.
what is your answer to my friend, whom let's assume you don't know?
I mean, they're essentially a social discovery platform. You can't just walk out of your door and find 50 people who are all
Mm,
single and
mm,
interesting and get to know the basic stuff about them to go hit on them. But,
yeah,
dating apps allow you to do that
yeah,
virtually.
yeah.
So from that perspective, they're great. They help you discover other single people, possibly single people,
Uh-huh.
virtually, right? Like that apart,
And like I
I
said,
mean,
possibly single people.
yeah, yeah. I mean, because a lot of people lie on dating apps, right?
Yeah.
That apart, I don't know if I particularly enjoyed that experience of
Mm-hmm,
meeting people virtually, and especially
mm-hmm,
right now in the last 2 years, where
mm-hmm.
pretty much everything's been virtual. You
Yeah.
just want to sit down with a normal human being and touch them and, like, just,
Normal
not touch
human
them
being
so
and dating
properly.
apps. I'm surprised you said that in the same line. Because a lot of people that you find on Tinder are, I mean, there's a notion that you find only weirdos on dating apps. I don't know if that's true. I've not tried it. So
I also think it's a little bit of the environment and the design, right? Like it's
yeah,
so unnatural. It's so
yeah.
unnatural. Like I think I said this to somebody, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
Tinder is like this friend who invited you to a party
Mm.
and is introducing you to another friend saying, hey, check out this single girl, like, she's really awesome. You'll get along because you have this thing in
Yeah,
common.
yeah.
And before you finish saying hello to her, that friend's going like, oh, actually there are 50 more guys exactly like this If you're bored, they're waiting for you.
Yeah.
Like, this is not even waiting for you to actually give this person a chance, right?
Mm.
So it's a bit unnatural. It's a bit strange the way it's designed.
This is something that I heard very recently. I'm not able to recollect where exactly I heard this. It was probably one of the reels that I was scrolling through on Instagram. Somebody said a platform like Tinder, especially if you're an attractive male or female, lines up so many people for you because of your genetic advantage of you looking pretty or you looking handsome, that you're more prone to becoming a psychopath because you're suddenly separating your sexuality from your humanity. And suddenly it's okay for you to treat people like shit.
Not just dating apps, right? Like, I feel like smartphones
Mm-hmm.
do normalize treating people like shit. Like, how often haven't you been ghosted, or how often haven't you ghosted a friend on WhatsApp or like whatever, right? Like, they ask you a question or they say something that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
get a response and you don't respond.
Yeah.
But maybe they feel like shit that you didn't respond to their lame joke,
Mm.
right?
That lame joke is usually, I'm the one who usually makes the lame joke. So yeah, I get what you're
Yeah.
saying.
It's just this whole frequency at which things happen
Yeah.
that makes it impossible for you to not treat people like shit.
Right. Right.
If
Yeah,
there are
that's
50 people asking me a question, I am going to choose two people that I will respond to.
right.
Does that mean I'm trying to ill treat 48 other? No, it's just I'm sorry, but like this is what I can humanly do. I spoke about the bit about how to figure out who you are,
Mm-hmm.
right? Once you've figured out who you are, rather than making a list, a well thought out list, I like to use meditation, and this probably sounds a little hippie. I like to use meditation because I don't want to think about what is a nurturing environment for the person that I've identified I am. I feel like if I allow myself that time to think and write that down on paper,
Mm-hmm.
I will start virtue signaling.
Right.
I will start I will start trying to
Be that
sound
person.
out proper. Yeah,
Yeah.
sound out proper. Like, it'll be very hard for me to admit and say, oh shit, I am an introvert, so I need to be with somebody who can respect me for that.
Hmm.
Because otherwise I'm tempted to write, oh, I want someone who, socializes only with like certain types of people, or like, allowing yourself to just visualize and not really write down helps
Mm-hmm.
you be a bit more honest with yourself and not to
Right.
mask that with virtue signaling.
Right.
So what I will do once I've identified like the core characteristics of who I am, let's say I identified things like, okay, I'm an introvert, I'm, funny, I'm insecure, or I'm something else, right? Like 4, 5 adjectives. I then sit down and I try to visualize what would be a nurturing environment for those
Mm-hmm.
characteristics of me, right?
Mm.
I'll start thinking about situations where those aspects of my personality have come up
Mm-hmm.
and what has been helpful.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I'll give you an example because this sounds vague when I say this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Accepting criticism and dealing with criticism does not come naturally to me,
Okay.
right? I get triggered by criticism, and that's out of conditioning because of certain sort of childhood, situations or experiences. So for me, I would like an environment, I would like a relationship where we can be less critical of each other, where we can judge each other less,
Mm-hmm.
but where we'll still be honest with each other, but can
Right.
be kind in the way that we give each other feedback. I then start thinking about situations where someone has given me feedback kindly, and that allows me to visualize environments that are nurturing for me, right? So then I'm able to say, for me, it's really important to be in a relationship or to build a relationship, not just be, but build a relationship where we can be kind to each other, right? Kindness is really important. Honesty is really important because
Yeah.
Not that I don't like feedback. I like feedback, but I like it to be delivered kindly. So that comes onto my checklist. Now,
Right.
that is very different from saying, I want a guy who is 6 feet tall or who went to this particular college or whatever,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Because that list has nothing to do with your relationship. That
Correct.
has no bearing. If someone is 6 feet tall, it does not naturally mean that they're going to be kind to you. Like if
Yeah.
kindness is a
But people who are
right?
5 feet 5 inches tall are very kind for those listening. Hope you're listening. Yeah.
So I guess the point is you want to create a visualization of what is a nurturing environment to you and use that to identify what values you hold important. And then find people who also value the same things as you do. Because you both are coming together to build something that is independent of the two of you. It may
Hmm.
be extensions of the two of you, but
Right.
it is independent of the two of you. The
Right.
relationship you share is different from you as a person and different from the other person that you're with, right?
Right. Right.
But you're not going to be building the same thing if you don't believe in the same thing.
Correct. Yeah. How do you recognize this is now we're moving away from single people? Feb 14th is also special for those who are already in relationships, who want to create a special moment in their admittedly drab and boring relationship, right? All of a sudden,
Yeah,
one day has to be special. But for
yeah.
those struggling with the thought of, am I in the right relationship? Have I spent long enough here to realize that this person is not right for me? Do I acknowledge it now or do I continue to waste more of my time? So, how do you recognize? And these are usually characterized by two things. You recognize that a relationship is not good for you if there are some red flags going by your personality traits. This other person's values don't align with your personality traits. And the second one is if you're in a toxic relationship. These happen to be the two biggest driving factors for people to break up and end their relationships. I'm going to ask you a more interesting question first. What are the biggest red flags, generic red flags in a relationship according to you?
For me, the biggest red flag is if two people can't sit down and talk about issues and attempt to find resolution for those issues. Like if there is a lack of communication, if people are not able to listen to each other, if people are not able to talk to each other, that for me is a pretty big red flag. I don't think people are necessarily like two pieces of a jigsaw that
Yeah.
just automatically sort of fit into each other.
Hmm.
And once they've been wedded and fit into each other, everything is just going to be perfect,
Yeah.
right? It's a constant molding process, and there has to be communication when you're building something together. And if you're not talking, then it's a problem, right?
Correct.
Or you never recognize if you're growing apart, never recognize if both of you want different things.
Mm.
And I think this comes up in a lot of movies or shows or like whatever, this dialogue comes up a lot. Like, as long as two people are fighting, it's fine. The
Mm.
moment two people stop fighting, you actually worry about them.
I've never heard this one, but that's very interesting.
I recently watched it in that show Decoupled, which is on Netflix, where this couple is getting a divorce and they're having a decoupling party to sort of announce their separation to their closest family and so on. And their driver, their family, like car driver, gets up to say, like, these guys initially were so happy and then they started fighting so much,
Mm.
and one day suddenly the fighting just stopped,
Mm.
and you know that that's the end, that's the beginning of the end of the relationship,
Right.
where you have nothing to say to each other anymore, where you can't talk to each other anymore,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
For me, that is the biggest red flag.
Right.
Everything else is a logistical inconvenience that you can find a solution
Right.
for.
Right. I think it's two things for me. One is what you just mentioned, which is not being able to talk about pressing issues or finding a distraction that will, for the time being, divert your attention from that issue at hand, pressing issue at hand. And another one is I find this very important, which is two people being able to sit quietly and just be together, not do anything. And this might
Yeah.
this might sound silly for people who have been in long-term relationships, because this might be a no-brainer. But if you're trying to get with a person, it's very important for you to just be with that person and not say anything, not do anything, and be at ease, be comfortable.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you're not
I
able to
mean,
do
that is
that,
also communication, right? It's just
yeah,
non-verbal communication.
correct, correct.
I think so, right? Like, I think somewhere you sort of alluded to something where it got me thinking, right?
Hmm.
For us, the real problem is thinking long term, right? Thinking long term is very hard because, especially now for
Hmm.
millennials, Gen Zs, the world is changing so rapidly that,
Right.
like, we can't help think short term, right?
Yeah.
Everything else is designed for the short term.
Correct.
So when you have a fight, when you have an argument and you don't want to talk about it, it's
Hmm.
very easy to evaluate that particular argument or that particular situation as, oh my God, I don't even want to talk to my partner right now. So maybe it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to talk right now. I don't want to
Yeah.
deal with it right now. Maybe I'll deal with it 3 days later, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost like we're so used to short-term transactions. Everything that we do, we'll do it
Correct.
now, it'll arrive in 10 minutes. We do something, it'll arrive in like 1 hour.
Yeah. 10 minutes
So,
startup. Zepto, please sponsor this podcast.
so it's very hard for us to say, you know what, Zepto screwed up this time,
Yeah.
but it's okay. I'm still going to order from them tomorrow because I'm
Yeah.
loyal to them, I'm committed to
Yeah.
them. There's no need to be committed. Sorry, if not Zepto, there's Instamart, there is Blinkit, Dunzo,
Yeah.
it, whatever, right?
Correct.
So I think there's that lack of commitment, which is a result of the difficulty that comes with
Hmm.
respect to long term.
And yeah, people associate the lack of excitement when the honeymoon period is over. People say, oh, this is just not exciting to me anymore. I'm no longer excited to meet this person. They don't get my heart racing. Maybe this is a sign for me to move on to other things or find other people who can get my heart racing. And yeah, it's just not the right way to be thinking. It's very short term.
Yeah, again, we're used to frequent dopamine hits, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, damn it, this tweet didn't become viral. Okay, I'm going to
Yeah.
tweet something else. Maybe the next one will be viral. Or damn it, this thing didn't work either. Okay, I'm going to do something else.
Yeah.
There's no end to it. There's no
Correct.
end to it.
Correct.
And also, if you ask me, like having, been with someone now for 12, 13 years, I don't
Wow.
think the point, yeah, I don't think the point of relationships or marriage is to give you a constant dopamine hit. Because I would have probably OD'd and died by now if that was if that was the case in relationships, right?
Yeah.
It's only an enabler for you to live your
Mm.
life. Like there is so
Yeah.
much else going on in your life, right?
Yeah. Yeah. True. True. Very interesting. And I'm going to talk about two other things that I feel are along the same lines, and they tie into our conversation of red flags. One is this validation that you spoke about, the constant dopamine hits. We've spoken about this in a previous podcast, but it's essential to bring it up now, which is creating an echo chamber of validation. Your relationship could just be two codependent human beings who couldn't survive alone because they weren't getting the attention. So they came together just to give each other attention, and that became the foundation, that became the bedrock of their relationship. How sustainable is that?
I mean, if it works for them, it works for them. Poor things. I mean, they were not getting validation elsewhere. Get it with each other. Why not? Why not?
No, but if your foundational principle in your relationship is you say nice things to me, I say nice things to you, we will always be kind to each other. Which don't you think that's a parasite like life where you can't survive alone?
So here's the thing. It may not work for you. It maybe works for them. It's keeping them happy for I don't know how many ever years, right? And that's okay, right? I guess that's exactly what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
That we are conditioned to believe that there is one template to relationships.
yeah, I'm guilty of that.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and what I'm trying to say is there isn't.
Mm.
You make your own sort of template for your own relationship and
Mm-hmm.
you sort of start filling that template or scribbling outside of that template or whatever, right? Like that's essentially sort of boundary that you're working with, then, trying to push over a period of time. If you look at two people who are insecure and codependent on each other, for you that might be repulsive, but maybe it
Right.
isn't for them. Maybe that's the best thing that could have happened to them.
Right.
Yeah, and I guess if it isn't sustainable, it's for them to realize, and
Yeah.
it's not for us to think about, right?
Yeah. But my stance remains intact, folks. The reason I have such strong opinions about an echo chamber of validation or creating anything close to that is because it's the first step to this next bigger problem, according to me, which is having constant drama. Some people just bring drama with them and they play the victim card all the time, where everything bad in the world is happening just to them. And maybe you didn't see this coming in your relationship. Maybe this person that you were with wasn't like this, but the constant validation that you've been giving has been getting this person to open up more and more. And now you realize that, wait, they're not the victim, they're just carrying drama wherever they go, and this is not good for me. If you pointed out that no, they're having an overreaction to a very small problem, they're making a mountain out of a molehill, they don't see it that way because that's just how they've grown up, right? They've had constant
Yeah.
drama in their life. For them, it is their only form of expression.
I think I kind of now see where that previous sort of question came from, and
Yeah.
while you asked me this question, I think first of all, right, first up, in a relationship, as I said, right, there are two individuals and there is a relationship, and all these three things are three different identities, right? So each of us in a relationship, like two people in a relationship, need to have their own personal boundaries to begin with, right?
Right.
So while you're providing validation to your partner, it can't be at the cost of yourself.
Right.
You can't be giving her validation because she's giving you sex. I don't know, right? I'm just saying it, right? It's you're not giving her validation on condition that she's going to give you something else. Because if you're doing that, then it's unhealthy, right?
Right.
You need to be very clear on what your boundaries are and how much you want to allow your spouse to push those boundaries,
Right.
right? To begin with. Then you have boundaries around a couple where you sort of work with your family or the society and so on, and those are the boundaries that you need to protect as a couple. But even before that, you have to protect your personal boundaries in a relationship, because at the end of the
Right.
day, a relationship is also about two individuals, right?
Correct.
So if you get to a situation where you're providing so much validation that now you can't handle the amount of whining or criticism or the drama that your spouse is giving you, then somewhere you'll have to look at what your boundaries were and where they've sort of been exploited,
Right.
and you have to gradually start rebuilding those boundaries if it's possible. Now, it's
Right.
also possible that you realize that there is no way out from this and you want to be out of this relationship, and that's okay too. But I guess if you're not yet in that relationship and you see yourself being on a path, you want to assess what your personal boundaries are to begin with and start rebuilding them slowly, so that your spouse also knows how to balance their personality with your support.
But would you say drama or excessive drama in a relationship is toxic? I mean, what really makes a relationship toxic?
I
I.
guess
Mhm.
it kind of goes back to what I previously said. A toxic relationship is where two people can't talk to each other about how the relationship is not nurturing for them. It
Right.
gets to that point of toxicity when you allow it to.
Right.
The first time you have a fight, the first time your partner does some drama, you can't be like, "Oh my God, this is toxic."
Okay. Yeah.
We'll say the air is toxic when it crosses that threshold.
Right. Mm.
So, what was that threshold?
Yeah.
And and it could be with respect to anything. And if you've allowed it to cross that threshold, that means you guys haven't been able to talk to each other and resolve it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so it kind of goes back to the communication bit, right? There could be lots of different ways in which a relationship is toxic.
Give us
Um,
some of those ways. What,
yeah.
according to you,
So,
would make
yeah,
that list?
like you said, right? Your partner is either too self-obsessed, they're
Right.
constantly only about themselves,
Mm.
they can't talk about anything else, or they're playing the victim card no matter what happens, they're always
Mm.
playing the victim card. They could be super dominating, controlling,
Mm.
not allowing you to grow as a person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there could be a relationship where there is no boundaries for the couple and they're letting
Mm-hmm.
everyone else comes in.
Right.
So lots of different ways in which it could be toxic. When you bitch about what's happening between you as a couple to a third person,
Yeah.
that means your boundary as a couple has been trampled.
Mm.
You're letting out what's private
Yeah.
outside,
Yeah.
right?
Makes
So
sense.
that means you didn't have the boundary to begin with, right? So yeah, I mean, essentially, I think we covered most bits. Yeah.
Now, another question. I mean, I have two questions and then I'm going to play a game with you. Okay.
Okay.
So you haven't signed up for this game, but we're going to play it anyway.
Okay.
The next question is now for people who are, you know, wanting to go out on a first date on Valentine's Day, give
Hmm.
people interesting date ideas. What do they do that's not very socially anxious?
Yeah. First of all, wear your mask.
Uh,
Yeah, and I think I said this before too, right? Like, and I saw this even recently on Twitter. Someone put it: walking dates are amazing.
mhm.
It really takes the pressure off, and you can also maintain 6 feet distance while you're walking if you want.
Yeah.
I guess in some sense, mimic a day in the life of a married sort of couple or a couple in
Mm.
a sort of long term stable relationship because that will give you a flavor of whether you guys can be together or like whether it's
Right.
fun being together. It's almost like a teaser into being together, right?
Right.
Obviously, you're going out on a date with someone because you found them interesting to talk to or, they looked attractive or whatever. So the basic thing is already checked off when you
Mm.
are agreeing to go on a date with someone.
Mm.
Once you go on a date with someone, like do something that's stuff that you do with a partner or stuff that you do with a
Mm.
friend.
Right.
So one of the ideas is a walking date. Another
Uh-huh.
idea would be, I know I'm sounding like an American desi now, but like go out for a hike or like whatever, right? Like I'm sure there are like parks, hills around
Yeah.
wherever you live,
Don't go to
and
Kavan Park on Valentine's Day.
yes, yes, yeah. I mean, actually, you can go to Lal Bagh. Lal Bagh's a
Yeah.
lovely place compared
Yeah.
to yeah, or go grocery shopping to a supermarket.
These are ideas I've never heard of. Like, oh
Cook,
man.
cook together. Cook together, right?
Cook
Like buy groceries.
together.
Yeah, buy
Right.
groceries and then cook a meal together and sit down and chat over that meal. Like that'll give you a sneak peek into hey, can I have fun with this person in the kitchen?
That's so
I mean,
cool.
not if you live with your parents, but
If you have cool parents, then no problem. Oh, no
yeah,
problem with
yeah.
that.
Catch up, meet at a supermarket, buy ingredients, and then you'll
Mm.
figure out that maybe they use ingredients that you would never let inside the house or like
They use a different brand of oil, and then you know that it's not the right
yeah,
person.
yeah. Oh my
Very
god, you
interesting.
don't use organic, hand-picked, sun-dried, blah blah blah. Oh shit, okay.
Yeah. You use parachute coconut oil in your food. Oh no. Yeah, I know people who use that. I mean, so the other day I was at a friend's place and we made papad. And on like this person likes parachute coconut oil, the one that I apply in my hair, on
Yeah,
papad. I was like, dude, we can't be friends anymore.
friendship over.
Friendship over. It's so cool, so cool. Okay, interesting. Now
Yeah.
this is my last. No, in fact, this is one of my last questions, which is now you have given clever date ideas. Okay, how do you get to
Hmm.
that date idea in the first place? What's the best way to ask someone out on Valentine's Day without it seeming like, oh, this is such a big deal for me. I'm very serious about this. How do you ask another person out without sending off all alarm bells?
See, if you're feeling desperate,
Hmm.
there's no better way to deal with it and say, hey, it's Valentine's Day. a day that I'm reminded of my singledom and I feel like I need to do something. So
Yeah.
I'm asking you out on a date. I know this is a high risk strategy, but I'm hoping it'll pay off.
That is so cool. I think this is the best suggestion I've heard all episode. So this is my suggestion to all of you listening. Do exactly what Priyanka said. It never goes wrong. I mean, not that I have experience with it, but I've been told that it always works. Be vulnerable. Put yourself out there. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, what's the worst that can happen? That person will block you, or they'll be like, okay, screw you, I don't want to do anything on Valentine's Day, but we could catch up next weekend or like something, right?
Some people use a dangerous
Yeah.
strategy of a broadcast message, okay, where they send the same message to 10 different people. Thinking at least one or two will say yes. But what if more than two people say yes? How do you then deal with it? Do you schedule meetings on Valentine's Day, 11 to 12 p.m.? This
Why
person.
not? Why not? I
Yeah.
mean, if you've got so much love to give, then why not?
Yeah. So it reminds me of Shark Tank. Yeah.
Yeah.
हमारा calendar full है इसलिए I am out. This is like Anupam Mittal speaking on Shark Tank India. Damn, nice,
Uh,
nice. Okay, now we're gonna play the game. Okay,
yeah.
this is the final segment of our show. I'm going to ask you popular questions that I have come across in the past. Okay, and I'm going to put these together in the form of a rapid fire. So I just
God,
want
I'm really
your
situations.
yeah, I just want your hot takes on it and politically incorrect answers only.
Okay, cool.
First
I
date, who
shall.
should pay?
Both of you pay.
Both of you pay. How do you have that conversation? When
What?
there's that 5 second pause where you either pull the checkbook towards you or you say it should be split. How do you deal with it?
Put your card and say, that's no.
Okay. Yeah, my GPay, you GPay me half the amount. All right.
You pay, I repay you.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. How do you deal with somebody ghosting you and being inconsistent with you?
If you have the patience and the bandwidth to put up with it, fine, deal with it. Otherwise, move on.
Okay. How do you deal with somebody who wants to go out for drinks, but then you don't really want to, but then you don't want to come across as a gugu?
Do you want to go out for? You go, don't drink. I mean, if you don't want to drink,
Oh,
don't
like
drink.
that. Oh, like that.
Drink
Okay.
juice.
Drink
Yeah,
juice. Okay.
yeah.
Uh, all right. Your favorite Valentine's Day memory in your last 12, 13 years of marriage?
Oh, damn it. Why did you say last 12, 13 years of marriage? I was going to pick something from before that.
Okay. No, but this is 12, 13 years of marriage. How do you make Valentine's Day interesting in a marriage?
We've never celebrated Valentine's Day. I feel like you only want to celebrate Valentine's Day when you're single.
This is why
Like,
I asked you this question. Karthik messaged me before this podcast and he was like, Priyanka doesn't do anything on Valentine's Day. Tell her. So this Valentine's Day, do something special.
oh yes, I think I have done something. I
Uh-huh.
have done something really special and
Uh-huh.
also kind of creepy.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So yeah, I think for our very first Valentine's Day, I did something and that wasn't very well received. So which is probably why I've never done anything after.
Okay.
So unfortunately, like my in-laws had passed away even before we got married, so I never had a chance to meet them.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really creepy as I say it now, like these many years hence.
It is
So I
okay. We
decided.
can manage it in edit if it's too
So
bad.
I actually kind of photoshopped a picture
Uh-huh.
of all of us together,
Right.
and I thought it would he would find it sweet, like he would, or at least think that it's so cool or like whatever. And I made that for him for Valentine's Day, and he was just like, "This is creepy. Don't keep it anywhere."
This reminds me of The Office. Have you watched The Office?
No, I mean not all episodes, like a few episodes here and there.
There's one episode where Michael Scott is going out with this one woman who's been through a divorce, so she's not with her husband anymore, but they've been dating, gone out like 3, 4 dates, and then for Valentine's Day he gives her a gift where he's photoshopped their family picture with her 2 kids and removed the husband's face and put his face. So instant recollection. Yeah,
Yes,
but no, it
yes,
wasn't so bad. I think the intent was very sweet.
yeah, yeah.
That takes me
And
to the next. Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
that takes me to the next question, which is the creepiest Valentine's Day gift or memory that anyone shared with you. The creepiest Valentine's Day gift that anybody's got.
Not creepiest Valentine's Day gift, but like
Mm-hmm.
back when we were in school,
Mm-hmm.
like high school,
Mm-hmm.
for Valentine's Day, like one of my friends got a gift from his girlfriend, like
Okay.
classmate, like, you know. So,
Right.
and he didn't like that gift, so he went
Mm.
and sold it in the shop where she bought it from and bought something else.
Wow. Okay.
And
Yeah,
and
it's
then
not creepy.
obviously,
It's very practical.
and then he ended up breaking up with her anyway after that. But
Oh.
like, yeah, that was funny. Yeah.
I think the creepiest Valentine's Day gift I've heard of is a friend who was in a relationship. They had been in a relationship only for a few months, and
Mm-hmm.
the guy basically Xerox copied all of their WhatsApp chat, put it in spiral bind, and gave it as gift. It was almost like a textbook.
Okay, so I may have got something like that, and I think it's kind of.
Who did this? Wait, this
I mean,
was
obviously,
this is Karthik. Yeah. So
I mean, he didn't Xerox it and spiral bind it and stuff, but he made a
yeah.
collage of some of like our coolest conversations.
That's sweet. But not like everything
Yeah,
from the time they were dating.
no, no, I mean not everything, but like yeah, wouldn't have fit in the collage. So
Nice, nice. Okay,
yeah,
last question I want to ask you. This is the last one, and this is a multi-answer question. So I'm gonna let you think about it. Okay, three things that are absolute no. You can't say them on Valentine's Day. Three things you cannot say on Valentine's Day.
oh wow, oh shit, okay.
But it should be a lesson for the people listening. We want to leave them with a little bit of enlightenment.
Three things to avoid on Valentine's Day. Fine, if you're going on a first date with someone, it's okay to be honest, it's okay to be vulnerable, but I
Hmm.
think you need to find your balance.
Okay.
And while you can ask someone out on a date saying, hey, it's Valentine's Day, I'd love to go out with you, calling them your girlfriend or thinking that this means a sign to spend the rest of your life with them or something like that might be going overboard a
Problematic.
little.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it might scare people off. So it's okay to be cute and funny, but you need to find the line between cute and crazy. So
Hmm. Okay.
um, that would be one thing.
Yeah.
And two, I think I would encourage people to not go overboard in terms of plans, right?
Mm.
While this is a day to celebrate love or an excuse to like do fun things with your partner
Mm-hmm.
or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
um, you don't need to exhaust all of your energy on one day.
Or money.
So yeah, yeah, or money. Like
Yeah.
keep it light, keep it fun.
Keep it light. I can,
Um,
yeah. Valentine's Day light.
yeah, and I don't think, and also the other thing, right? Like, is just because you spent an exorbitant amount of money or put in an exorbitant amount of effort into pulling off the stay, doesn't necessarily mean that the other person's going to reciprocate or appreciate
Mm.
or acknowledge or whatever.
Yeah.
So you need to know your boundaries in terms of how much you can do without actually expecting something in return, and do it because you want to do it and it makes you happy versus if I do this, this person will do this for me sort of
Yeah.
belief. So yeah, it's a day for you to sort of do fun things too. It's not just for your relationship, it's for yourself too. So I guess these would be the three things.
These are very mild and harmless answers that she gave. I thought she'll drop the mic on this one, but yeah, safe answers. Thanks. Thanks so much for that. And that unfortunately brings us to the end of this podcast. I hope you liked it. Don't forget, if you've gotten this far, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Okay? Yeah, cool. Thanks.